something about immigration in Panama, how to relocate. I'm a licensed attorney since 2004, I think. 2004, I worked many years ago at Immigration. I was in charge of the Department of Residency, and also I was the National Chief of Citizenship Department at Immigration. That was until 5 years I worked there. Then I have here in been a lawyer with the firm here for almost 12 years. Of the 20 years the firm has.
12 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. So that's part of who I am. I'm an expert in immigration. I used to worked also in the new immigration law and the citizenship law. So that's my background in immigration.
Perfect. Before we continue, for those who don't know me, my name is Christopher Segui, attorney at law, licensed in Panama since 2016. I've got experience in commercial law, housing ministry law, and different transactions regarding real estate. Today, we are going to be talking about the most popular permanent residency programs in Panama. For those who want to come and live and invest in Panama, take advantage of this meeting, take your notes out, start writing, and putting all that information down. Carmen, tell me, why Panama is the place to come and invest and to live, to retire?
Okay, the main thing is we have a low cost of life. It's very important. Security is very important. We have, among other things, US dollar as or currency. Also,
that's a huge advantage of our US currency
that
from other countries in Central America.
Yeah, we have the US currency, and security is very important. We have our security. What else? Yeah, you can help me with something too. I mean,
we've got strong economy, and also remember we were talking about we've got great coffee as well.
We have great coffee. Yeah, for those coffee lovers, actually, we have one of the most expensive coffees in Panama. That is the Geisha coffee. So you want to take advantage of a good coffee. It's not only Colombia, Panama has great coffee too. But I mean, smaller quantities.
And there's places for everyone. If you like the mountain, if you want to be in the city, if you want to be on the beach, you can take advantage of that. So Carmen, just to mention the permanent residency programs that we're going to be talking about. So let's mention them, and further on we will start talking detailed one by one.
Okay, first we have the mentioned one that we have the retired or pension program. We have the friendly nations programs. We have the self-economic solvency, qualified investors, business investor, reforestation investor. We have the one as a professional. We have married to Panamanian, having a Panamanian child. We have the Panama-Italy Treaty, and we have the 10% work permit under 10% of staff. So those are the main ones that we can talk about.
So basically these are the most popular, the most attractive, and the ones
the most popular, the ones the most popular ones. We also have we have some other programs that can be that we can use for permanent residency. There are other programs too, but these are the easiest and the most popular ones. Okay, so they're also they are also temporary residence programs. So it's established for people that just come for no more than 6 years, and maybe the person like it. Usually it's for people that come to work. So people to come to work over in the free zone or Panama Pacific or this type of multinationals that they come for a specific time of, they can have the temporary residency.
And these temporary residency, the difference between a permanent and a temporary is that ones need an investment and the other ones don't, right?
There are temporary programs that that you can do investments with. There are temporary programs like agricultural. You can invest for 6 years in agriculture. But mainly the temporary ones, the 6 years are just for temporary, for working. They can come to work for up to 6 years. If the person likes the country, then he wants to stay longer, and they have to apply, change the status to another type of visa, of residency. Now we have to talk about that, Chris, the difference between visa and residency.
Yeah, because people think that a visa is the same as a residency.
That's right. It's two different concepts. The visa is for come to a country as a tourist. Okay, that's mainly the difference. The residency is when you want to live in that country for more than the time allowed by a visa. A visa here in Panama, for example, depends on what country you are from. You can have a 6 months tourist visa, or 3 months or 1 month. It depends on the country. So to be clear, and everybody knows that there is a difference between visa and residency. Visa is to come as a country as a tourist. And then residency is when you want to live in the country. So if we apply for residency, we don't apply, if you want to live in a country, like any country, you apply for residency, you don't apply for visa. You apply for a visa when you want to visit a country, like you apply to a visa to the United States or a visa to any country. Now, in Panama, we have different types of visa. We have the visa normal one, which is and countries that they don't need the actual documents stamped in their passport. Most of the countries, they don't need it. Then we have the stamp visa, which is some countries that Panama, you need to go to a consulate to get stamped your passport. And there are certain countries that do that. And then there is the authorized visa, that one's restricted. So some countries has to apply for, citizens of some country have to apply for an authorized visa. And we're going to talk to this further on.
They have to do a previous process.
Yeah, and I'm going to explain. We're going to explain that. So these countries that we see now these are the countries that do not need an actual stamp visa in their passports. There's 132 countries, 31 countries that they do not need a visa to come to Panama. So
and they can all have different time frames. For example,
yeah, they can. For example, European Community, Britain,
Americans,
in the United States, Canada, Mexico, most of North America and South America, depending on the country. Argentina, they can stay up to 6 months in Panama as tourists. Then there are other countries like Colombia, Peru, that they can only stay for 3 months. And then some other countries like the countries that need a stamp or authorized visa will can stay only for 1 month. So the other ones we're going to talk about is the stamp visa. The stamp visa is, as we were saying, these countries that establish stamp visa, they have to go to a Panamanian consulate to get it stamped in their passport. They have to follow some requirements so that the consulate will stamp the visa in their passports. So
okay.
That's it.
And what's the time frame for this?
Usually it's 1 month.
It's 1 month.
Yeah, it's 1 month, but it can be prolonged for an amount of time once they are in Panama through immigration.
So the best thing is that before somebody who needs a stamp visa purchases a ticket, they first need to do this process before thinking and taking a trip to Panama.
That's right. That's right. For the countries, and we have the countries, only 13 countries, mostly are countries from Africa. You see there is Cameroon, Cuba, Philippines, Ghana, India, Malawi, Central African Republic, Republic of Congo, Dominican Republic, China, Swaziland, Togo, Venezuela, Zimbabwe. These countries, China, Venezuela, for example, Dominican Republic, they have to go to the consulate to get their visa stamped in their passports, following some requirements. So they right now they have an appointment in their consulates. There are countries, for example, here like Ghana and Central Africa, they have to go to the nearest consulate because Panama doesn't have consulates there. So in Africa, for example, there are two embassies. One is in Egypt and the other one is in South Africa. Now, the next one is the authorized visa. And this is some restricted, they call it restricted nationalities. And for an authorized visa, the visa has to be requested at immigration by a Panamanian lawyer. So the person will get in contact with you. And you tell them, okay, you know, you are from one of the list that are listed there. And you can get through a Panamanian lawyer sending an apostille documents. We request a visa from here, and then it has to go through the National Security Council to be approved.
And again, it's a previous process before
It's a
coming to
previous
Panama.
process before coming to Panama. So if one come to Panama, from the list of countries that you can actually find them over at the immigration website, where the list of countries are, they will tell you if they need a visa or not need a visa. So right here we have them, mostly the countries that needs an authorized visa. We have for example, Afghanistan,
Egypt,
Nigeria,
Nigeria.
Haiti in America. It's Haiti needs an authorized visa. So all these countries need an authorized visa. You have clients for them. They're, you know, get in touch with us or whoever, the lawyer, or that to get
This process done.
Right. And it takes more or less 3 months.
Okay, Carmen, for all the residency programs, we're going to be talking and explaining one by one. Basic and common requirements, you need them for every process, residency process, you need these documents, right?
Yeah, every single process. I forgot to say something that we're going to be answering all the questions at the
Oh,
end.
yes.
At the
Questions
end.
are going to be at the end. So please write them down or on the chat, and we will definitely get back to you at the end with all your answers and concerns. So you're going to require
the common requirements to apply for residency, not for visa, for residency. So a valid passport with a minimum of 6 months before expiration, 5 passport size photos, a health certificate issued by a Panamanian doctor, personal background declaration, very important, the criminal background or police report, which of the country of your country of origin, or the country that you have been living or residency of the last 2 years, meaning that if you are a US citizen and you're living in Colombia for the last 2 years, the police report that you need to give us to apply is from Colombia. The police report, the criminal background has to be national. Okay, that's very important. Cannot be issued by a county or a state or a province or any or the city. It has to be by the national police. For example, in the case of the United States will be the FBI. In the case of Canada will be the RCMP, that is the mounted police. In the case of England, Great Britain is by ACRO. So it's a national one. It cannot be city ones, will not be accepted. And actually, that's very important to know. Then there are payments made to immigration depending on the type of residency you apply. Usually, the common ones is $200 for the national, $250, sorry, for the National Treasury, and $800 for immigration. That's the common ones. It changed depending on the type of residency you apply, and we're going to explain that later on when we get into the main residence programs.
Perfect.
Okay.
Here we also have some additional common requirements. All documents must be valid for a minimum of 6 months, and like we were talking previous, unless your country says that it has a time frame,
It has an expiration date.
an expiration date.
So if it doesn't have an expiration date, the documents should be, they're valid for 6 months. But we recommend our clients that to have them as close to the, when they are coming. Because, you know, there can happen things and then documents will be,
Yeah, the best thing you can do is get in contact with your attorney, forward all the information via email, so we can go ahead, review it, and make sure that when you're here in Panama, we're good to go, you know? Avoiding any inconvenience that we're missing any good information or needed
so
documentation.
it's very important that, you know, once you have the documents, you send it over, and also to check them, you know, maybe you send me a wrong police report and that's not valid here, or for example, in the case of retirees, the document doesn't have the lifetime word and they have to do an affidavit. So we can recommend what to do, and with enough time,
Definitely.
So-
All documents issued abroad must be authenticated by a Panamanian consulate or apostille, right?
Apostille, it's a treaty. So mostly of the documents, you can go to a Panamanian consulate, they will authenticate it there. But if the country of origin is part of the Hague Treaty, the apostille, it's better to apostille, it's faster and it's easier. But have to be either way, because that will make them valid in Panama. If they don't have the consulate authentication or the apostille, documents will not be valid in Panama. So also all the documents that are not issued in Spanish have to be translated into Spanish by a Panamanian licensed translator. Cannot be done outside. It have to have the seal of a Panamanian licensed translator.
So that's done when you guys arrive to Panama.
When the people,
We do it down here.
we
It's
do it
not
here,
necessary to
or
bring them over.
the same thing, it's not necessary. It's, for example, usually that's why we request the documents in advance, so we can start doing translations and all that. And if there's no translation, no translators here in Panama, then we have to have a certification from the Ministry of Education that says that we don't have a translator, and then it can be done outside Panama. For example, there is something that, for example, the country's documents from the European community, they come in all languages. So those ones they don't need to be translated. They're accepted because the European community takes all the languages of every country as their official language. So those do not need to be translated.
Great. Number 4 says, in the case scenario, a country doesn't have a Panamanian diplomatic mission to certify the documents, you must be authenticated by a friendly diplomatic mission or consulate.
Right. If there's no apostille and there is no consulate, for example, let's say, and it happened to me, Cambodia, we have some documents from Cambodia, there are no embassy or diplomatic mission in Cambodia, then they took it either to the United States, the embassy of the US embassy, or the Mexican embassy. So they authenticated, they are considered friendly countries, so they can be authenticated there and then send it over to us.
For them to be valid in Panama.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an example I can said.
So basically, everything Carmen and me have explained right now was a small introduction of legal terms and wording we use as attorneys for you guys to understand now that we're going to be going residency for residency requirements and everything regarding it. So it was just for you guys to have a little bit of knowledge of what are the requirements.
Just to let you know, these are the main ones, okay? There's like 20 something different types of residency. So we're going to be through the main ones. Okay, so first, and the most popular one is the retired. You know, Panama is considered one of the top 5 countries to retire in the world. And their retirement program for residency in Panama, it's very easy and very easy, very friendly. So you just need to bring 2 documents. One is your lifetime pension. issued by a government or private entity. And they have to show that you earn monthly more than $1,000. Okay, when you have a retirement for $1,000, you got it. The letter has to be say that it's a lifetime. It can be from the government, or it can be private or a trust or anything like that. If it's private, got some other requirements that we'll explain it. I mean, you can call us or email us and we'll explain it. The second one, that's the most important one, $1,000, $200 for each dependent. And the residency is granted within 6 months, more or less.
So for everybody to understand, let's go into numbers. Let's say, for example, it's the primary needs $1,000.
$1,000.
He's got a wife and 2 kids. His pension has to be over 1,600 to be able to qualify.
Now there is a second option, and if you don't meet the $1,000, you can have a pension of, let's say, $750. But to apply, you have a low one. You will have to have buy a property. You have to have a property that is a minimum of $100,000. So if you have a property here in Panama of $100,000 and you have a pension of $750, you can apply. Okay.
So, and the time frame for this is around 6 months.
Around 6 months. You get permanent residency right away, or it has a difference from the other types of residency that you have to apply for a 2-year temporary one, and then after the 2 years you apply for the permanent residency. So this one grants you residency right away, right away. Now there is something very important, and it's that you are retired and you come with your children, then your dependents, your children will be dependents, or your dependents until they are of legal age, which in Panama is 18 years old. Once they reach to the legal age, they will lose their residency status, and then if they want to stay in Panama, they can apply on another type of residency. So that's very important to know, because people think that they come with their child, retirees come with their child, and they keep the permanent residency. No, they will lose their permanent residency when they become of legal age, unless they are studying and they can keep the residency until they're 25 years old. But after that, they have to apply for another type of residency, and that's only for the pension ones. So,
and due to the fact that you're coming with a label as pension or retired, there's no work permit.
There is no work permit because you're retired. You're supposed not. Okay, so the next one will be one that used to be very, very popular, and it changed as August of last year. It changed. So this is the Friendly Nations residency, and we were saying visa, we were making a Friendly Nation residency. It's 51 countries that are on the list that they can apply to this type of residency. And there are 2 options. One is for labor reasons, which you have to have been hired by a Panamanian company and been working. Actually, you have to be sponsored by a Panamanian corporation. And the second one is by an investment of $200,000, which can be either on real estate or in a fixed term deposit that have to be for 3 years. Okay, it's a $200,000 investment and $1,000 for each dependent.
Okay, so just to say in other words, first we have the labor reasons, hired by a Panamanian company, sponsored. You have to be under the company's name, hired by them, work permits,
you have
paying
to have
taxes, social security.
and very important, paying social security. So that's one thing. The other one is the investment of $200,000.
$200,000 real estate.
In real estate or fixed term deposit, or a combination of both.
And you can use a local general bank in Panama to be able to gain a mortgage if you qualify. If
you have a mortgage and your investment is let's say an apartment, $200,000, so you pay $100,000 and the other $1,000 is financed, then you can apply. But you have to maintain the investment in Panama for the time until you get a permanent residency. Okay, that's very important.
And this program does provide a work permit?
Those provide a work permit. I mean, if you're going to do it by labor reason, you have to have the work permit. And if you are going to do it by investment and then you want to work, you can also apply for a work permit. So.
But it's only for the primary one, right? Or
No,
dependents can
No, the
apply?
dependents cannot have work
Cannot.
permit. That's,
Okay.
dependents cannot have work permits. So we're going to explain about that Albert. So before you go, this residency is done in 3 years. So you got the 2-year provisional residency, 2 years. Then after the 2 years, you apply again for the permanent residence. So that's very important. And
These are the
list
list of the countries. If I'm not wrong, I think the latest one was Peru.
Peru was
Peru who
added.
came in the list in August.
So we have most of the European countries, most of them are part of this. In the Americas will be the Canada, United States, Mexico, Costa Rica, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Brazil. Those are the ones in the Americas.
So it's a residency program open for many countries around the world.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Okay. Yes.
So the next one, Carmen.
Okay, the next one is the self-economic solvency residency. So this one is little bit like the other one, that like the
Similar to the friendly nation.
similar to the friendly nations, but it's $100,000 more. So the investment will be $300,000 and $2,000 per dependent in a fixed term deposit for 3 years in a bank in Panama, general license bank in Panama. That's very important. Cannot be an international bank, cannot be outside, it has to be in Panama. Real estate or a combination of both, that at the end will be $300,000. And if you have dependents, you have to add $2,000 again. Applies to any nationality.
That's the big difference from friendly nations. That it applies for
any nationality can apply.
Property, personal name or?
The property, sorry, thank you, Manoj. The property can be on a personal name or can be under a corporation or a foundation. Friendly nations too. Thank you. Yeah, both have to be.
This one, can we use a mortgage as well? Can people use a mortgage for this
No.
one? No, this one has to be cash.
This has to be fully paid, no liens in the property, no liens in the property, fully paid. And same as the fixed term deposit, no liens. So that's very important. Any nationality can apply, same as the other one. It's a 2-year temporary residency. And then after the 2 years, the permanent residency, you get the permanent residency. No work permit is granted.
Yeah, no work permit because your label is that
You're solvent.
you're solvent. That's correct. So the next one is qualified investor.
That's your favorite, eh?
Yeah, this is the one that we're going to be talking about. It's property purchase for $300,000 US until October.
Until October 15. You can purchase a property for $300,000 until October 15, fully paid, no liens. You can apply for the qualified investor. After October 15, the investment will be of $500,000, $500,000. That's option number one. Option number two, it's stocks. Purchase stocks in the Panamanian stock market for $500,000. Option number three, these are main options, is $750,000 on a fixed term deposit in a local bank in Panama. Now here, and it's very important, there's another option number 4 for you guys that are in the real estate. There is, you can buy a property that is under construction, okay? You have a property that is under construction, the person can buy, but it can be financed by a local bank, but has to be secured by a trust. So you have to have a trust for $500,000 that secures the buying the property that is not built yet.
So I place the trust in a local Panamanian bank for $500,000, and against that trust, I can require and gain a mortgage.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, so we can explain that.
And the good thing about this program is that you've got your paperwork done in 30 days.
Yeah. The beauty of this program, and it's called Golden Visa in other countries. They call it Golden Visa. It's a residency. You get your residency in 30 days or less, 30 days, and the person does not have to be in Panama.
That's an advantage. That is a huge
Doesn't
advantage.
have to be in Panama. An important thing is that the investment has to be maintained for 5 years. We as lawyers, we have to do a report every year for 5 years to the Ministry of Economics, that's saying that the investment is there and we have to prove it, and it's there. This one does not grant a work permit, and it sounds like, really, before we go to that, this one sounds like very expensive, very, very fast. But the thing is, like, if we compare it with another countries like Portugal, which has the same program, the investment is over $1 million.
Yeah.
So this one is $500,000. So it's very attractive.
So the next one is the business investor. Like we were talking a few days ago, it's an attractive residency program, but it takes a lot of work, you told me, and it takes time as well, right?
Takes time. The business investor, as the word says, we're trying to get people to invest in Panama. So this one is an investment of $160,000 in a company in Panama that exists, and establish that we need an accountant to show that the investment was made of $160,000. The company has to have at least 5 Panamanian employees working. In the first year, actually, the company is starting, so we just have to prove the investment. After the person will apply for the permanent residency, then show that the company is actually in the Social Security, that have the 5 Panamanian employees, that the investment is being maintained, and the company is really there, and and all that.
Okay. So just so everybody can be on the same page. So if I call you and I tell you, Carmen, I'm then going to Panama, I want to apply for the business, I'm telling you, I set up a business. I go to get over 100. Very good to know.
On the video.
Plantation. Wood plantation.
Actually, what you need to do.
There's one for 100,000. One for 300. Okay.
First, we have to do $200,000. That's our first stage. That will grant you temporary residency. Will give you. Now, the very important thing, we're talking about this, it's not fine.
Certain amount of
First registry of. So, very important. Get that an investment of $100,000 that will grant you. And then granted the residency. Keep it. Investment that will give you. Right. Your environment, you know, your family environment. What is it?
The long term. First station. First station. Please let us.
No. No, they have to explain it.
Hello, 1 2 1 2. Can everyone hear? 1 2 1 2. Can everyone hear? Can you please check again?
Yes. Now they say.
Okay.
Yes, much better.
Okay, so we're going to explain again the reforestation.
Okay, we do apologize for those live
Sorry.
inconvenience.
Sorry.
So yeah, starting again with the reforestation visa, it's a very
Residency.
residency. And like we were saying, yeah, residency. The difference is that there's two under the same program, one for $100,000
That's why.
and another one for 350.
It's open to every country. It's the cheapest one, as Manoj was saying, is the cheapest investment for everybody. It's $100,000. We will grant you residency within three years, and $350,000 will grant you residency within 6 months, permanent residency. $100,000 again, you will get 2-year temporary residency, and then after the 2 years, you will get a permanent residency. And the 350 will grant you the permanent residency within 6 months. Important, you are not buying the land. You're just
Very
buying
important.
the
Very
trees.
important, because many clients think that you're purchasing the property. You're not. You're purchasing shares of a company that owns certain amount of trees or reforestation investment in a certain area in Panama, approved by government. It must always be approved by government.
It have to be approved by government and have to be duly have to
Registered.
be registered in the forest registry of the Ministry of Environment.
The main document is the forestry register.
The
That's
forestry registry, yeah. So the main document to qualify, it has to be done like that. If you have a land here in Panama and you want to plant trees and use that for the investment, it has to be registered. I mean, it has to be registered at the forestry registry of the Ministry of Environment.
The good thing is that it's open for all nationalities.
All nationalities. It's open to any nationality, and work permits, it's not granted.
Just for everybody to know, for you guys who are here and the other ones who are connected online, it's open for all nationalities, but if you require a stamp or authorized visa previous to that process, you still have to meet law requirements before going for residency.
The authorized visa mainly, you have to apply for a BTR, that is a valid visa to apply for residency. And it's it have to be done like that. So any questions you have about it, you know, you can write us or email us, or so we can explain you furthermore. So this one does not require work permit. Now, this one is becoming very popular in Panama, and it's the professional visa, the professional residency program. This is open to any nationality too, but the person has to have a university degree, either a TSU or bachelor or master or a doctorate.
You have to have this. This one, before applying it, we need what is the homologation from the University of Panama or the Technological University of Panama. Homologation is the validation of your degree, that it has to be done through the public universities. So this one grants you residency within more or less 3 years. It applies to any country, and they grant you a work permit that is through the Ministry of Labor. Very important in this program is that there are certain professions that are only for Panamanians. Here we have a list. So if you're any profession you are to do with medicine, engineers, architecture, lawyers, they cannot apply.
So those professions are restricted
only to Panamanians, only to Panamanians. So nothing that have to do with medicine, laws, engineers, they cannot apply. Sadly, they cannot apply. So that's the downside of this residency. So if you want to apply for this residency, you can check with us or whoever your licensed law attorney to see if you can apply within your your degree. And
before we continue, it was something we were talking previous to this meeting. We recommend always to hire a licensed attorney in Panama with previous experience in immigration, right?
Right.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, we were talking because there have been a lot of scams, and sometimes people say, "Oh, but I can find this person that do everything for $100," and you can get in trouble. And that's very important. Try to have a licensed attorney. Also, you want to check your attorney. You can get into the webpage of the Supreme Court. Of the National Supreme Court. There is a list there of all the licensed attorneys in Panama, so you can check them before you do that. So, wow. Next one will be, okay.
It's married with Panamanian.
Married to Panamanian. And that's a very easy one. Main thing, you have to be married. Your spouse have to be Panamanian to apply for it. You have to be Panamanian. Your spouse have to be Panamanian. Any nationality can apply. Work permit is granted. It's done within 3 years. Same one. Temporary residency 2 years, and then after that, you get a permanent residency. Now, you have to be very careful here because there is an interview done over at Immigration.
There are several interviews.
Yeah, and Immigration can go to your house if you're married to Panamanian. They can do inspection, surprise inspection. They can talk to your neighbors, and if you are not really married, you're just married for convenience, you can get in a lot of trouble.
It's a felony. At the
It's
end
a
of it,
felony. It's a felony. So.
And they will find out. They will do several interviews. They will make sure that the marriage is not a fraud. They will do simple questions like what color is his toothbrush and things like that.
Things like what you have
because they're not living together, they won't be able to answer those questions,
But
so it's quite complicated.
Yeah, it's not complicated, but you have to be very careful. And as I say, Immigration can just go and do, and it's done in every country too. They can just do inspections, come over and go to your house where you said you live. And if you're not living there, and you can be in trouble. So the other one.
Foreigners with Panamanian children.
Okay, very important. This one is not that you are going to come into Panama and have a child and you get residency right away. No, you can apply when your child is 5 years old. Born in Panama and he or she is over 5 years old, then you can apply. This is not that, okay, and my child is 5 years old, here is birth certificate. Also, you have to do an affidavit. And to people that knows you have to do an affidavit showing that you are a good parent.
So you have to prove basically, government, that you've been a good parent for the last 5 years. You've done your child support, education, and all that background, and then government will go ahead and provide you.
No, not only say your care parent or the government will give you the residency. Any nationality can apply and it grants for a permit.
Okay, this is a very nice residency program, and it was the one that Friendly Nation was based on before it changed in
Before
August.
it's changed. And this is only for Italian citizens, only for Italian citizens. And it's a two-way. So the same we got here for Italians coming to Panama, the same we Panamanians going to Italy can apply.
So if I next year decide to go be resident in Italy, I can qualify
With
because
this
we have the same program.
It's
Very interesting.
reciprocity, the word you don't like, reciprocity. So this is very easy, only for Italians, as I said. You have to have a bank account, a personal bank account of $5,000 plus 200 for each dependent. Now here, and it's a good, if you're Italian and your spouse is not Italian, they say it's from another country, it's not an Italian citizen. Since you are Italian, your spouse can apply
As
as
well.
your dependent.
But then
Doesn't
we have
matter
to
that-
prove a marriage certificate.
Yeah, you have to prove marriage certificate. The person can apply, their spouse can apply. So you have to be an Italian citizen. You have to have a bank account for at least $5,000 in a Panamanian bank, licensed general bank, 200 for each dependent. You have to show two options to apply. One is for work reasons, which is, as we said before, sponsored by a company in Panama where you're working and you're Italian. That's one. And the second one is the financial reasons, which is easy. This, you have to create a corporation. With a corporation, you can apply. Okay. Have a
Perfect.
corporation.
One of the documents you have to provide is that special word in Italian.
Okay.
How is it?
Cittadinanza.
That's basically the ID.
That's some
Birth
countries in,
certificate?
some countries in Europe, they don't have cards.
An ID card.
Right?
Yeah.
ID. Italy does have it. So you either have that ID card or you are an Italian living in, let's say, Argentina. So your ID, you don't have an actual Italian ID card. So through the consulates, through the Italian embassy, you request a certificate of citizenship, which is called a cittadinanza. And then they granted you that right away. So
And this one does grant you a work permit in Panama.
grant you work permit and give you residency within 6 months.
That's a great advantage. 6 months than from other residencies that take 2 to 3 years.
That's right.
Very
So this is only
interesting.
for Italians.
Under 10% regular staff.
Okay.
This one's another residency program.
That's another residency program, and that's they call it the work residency. So it's also sponsored by. You have to be sponsored by a Panamanian corporation, basically. You have to be have a work contract. You have to be registered in the Social Security, and you have to have a minimum salary of $850 plus 200 for each dependent. Grants you the residency within 3 years, and well, of course, you have to give you a work permit. You have to have a work permit to apply. So that's another. But you have to be hired by a company in Panama, and in the payroll, you have to show that the company has for each foreigner 10 Panamanians working.
This process can take a while because remember we were talking about work permits.
Yeah, it's
Work
done
permits can
at the
take
same time.
6 months.
Yeah.
Work permit minimum. So yeah, that's why you always have to give a phone call provide a phone call to your attorney.
Or
Get-
an email so we can help you with.
Get to know the process before you start.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
goes together.
Yeah,
Immigration,
they go-
work permit.
Yeah.
Immigration, work permit.
We apply for the work permit. We apply for immigration. Immigration will give us a status, and then we apply for the work permit. So it goes together. Now here we have, you can see over the screen, those are the main programs. It's a review of what we do.
Beautiful, Carmen. So, wow, this is the first time I have seen such a beautiful, hey, guys, this is such an awesome work. Carmen and Chris and Carmen, the one and only. So any information about residency program, here is a condensed work that both of you have done with the condensed information of the different residency, the main different residency programs with the condensed information. So whenever you have a client, whenever you want to think or identify which program you will qualify, so this as a summary will help you to identify which program any person will qualify. A big applause for Carmen and Chris. Bravo. Continue.
Okay, yeah, just like, thank you for that, Manoj. We appreciate it. So,
You make me blush.
yeah. So
Okay,
on this, what we can see here is the difference of time frames,
Yeah,
investments.
there's different time frames, investment, that's so you and your clients can have these. I think if you want this presentation, it's gonna be in YouTube. Or
It's gonna be
contact
on YouTube.
either one of us,
Yeah,
so we can help you with that. So these are the main residency programs and with the requirements, what we just talked. And then now we have the time frames for residency and citizenship. These ones are the ones that requires 2 years, the 3 years, the temporary, and that's a self-economic solvency. The friendly nations, reforestation of $100,000, married to Panamanian, having Panamanian child, professional. The ones that requires first, you get the time frame here. You can see the first part is when you get to Panama as a tourist. When you get as a tourist, doesn't matter if it's a month, 3 months, or 6 months. What we do first is the registration of the passports. Your passport has to be registered. If you want to apply for residency, your passport has to be registered at immigration. And now, thank God, and because of COVID, not thank God, because of COVID, the person doesn't need to go to immigration to do the fingerprints as they did before. We do it online. And after we do the pre-registration, we take your passport over to immigration to be stamped with the registration number. Then after that, we do the application. Now comes the green part, we do the application. Within more or less 6 months, they will give you a card, a processing card. We call it a carnet de trámite in Spanish. It's a processing card that grants you a temporary residency for 6 months while your documents are going through all the immigration process and bureaucracy. After those 6 months, more or less, your residency, your temporary residency will be approved or denied. But we approve, the resolution will sign, and then they will grant you a 2-year temporary residency, which will give you a card. Before those 2 years are done, and I actually like to have the clients have their next documents for the permanent residency application like a month before it's over, so we can apply for the permanent residency. Again, 6 months temporary card, and then after the 6 months, you will get the permanent residency. After that, then will come the process, if you want, the process of citizenship that we can explain later. But this is more or less the time frame.
definitely. We're going to get into citizenship. That it's a really nice experience and a really nice process as well, from the point of view. So just before we continue, I do want to mention this again. It's very important to send your documents previous you come to Panama, because now that I remember a special personal experience that we had, basically on pensioned and retirement, the document has to say for lifetime.
Yes.
And
And
some of the Americans don't establish that it's for lifetime.
The Social Security, the U.S. Social Security does not say that it's a lifetime. So in that case, we have to do an affidavit with notary in the United States or whatever it is. I think some documents in Britain doesn't have the lifetime word, and it's very important to
So
say
those
that
things, that's why it's very important for you to send the documents before.
in advance. Just email them and scan them and email us in advance so we can see. Now, there is a term residency for retired pension for reforestation of over $350,000 and the Panama Italy Treaty, which grants you permanent residency within 6 months. So it's the same thing. You get your passport registration while you are here as a tourist, then application documents, then more or less 6 months for a processing card, and that's the time, the bureaucracy, as I explained before. Then within more or less 6 months, you will get the permanent residency. So that's more or less the time frame. The person only goes once to immigration, either in the temporaries, just to get the photo of their ID. That's the only time. 2 times they go to immigration, for the processing card and for the temporary or permanent card.
So here in all the whatever you're seeing on your screen right now is just the time frame of all the programs we've been going through. So basically, all of them have similar things. Just the difference is the investment, the amount. Basically, all of them have a similar time frame between 2 and 3 years, unless the pensioner or the qualified investor.
Or the qualified investor which is within 30 days. As I said, the qualified investor do not have to be in Panama, but eventually they have to come to Panama to get the ID cards and to register the passports. So
the next step is the dress code.
Dress code.
Very, very important.
Very important. It's very specific. You cannot go to immigration in shorts. You have to wear long pants. You have to not. You cannot go into immigration with flip-flops, tank tops. You know, you have to be dressed accordingly. Polo shirts, long pants for men. You can use sneakers, no open toes, nothing like that.
Toes.
Women, no tank tops, no mini skirts. You cannot show the shoulders. Anything they're very specific in that. Right now, it's mandatory to wear face mask at immigration. The facial mask, they took it out, so it's only your face, your mask to get into the immigration.
Panamanian citizenship. How does that work? And this is after you've already gained residence.
After you get your permanent residency, after you get 5 years, mainly 5 years since your permanent residency, you can apply for citizenship. Now, there is something here that those 5 years have to be continuous residency. So you have to be living in Panama for 5 years. And the government established that those 5 years are 180 years a year. So you have to be living in Panama 6 months out of 1 year. Not like some people go come once every 2 years not to lose their residency, and they say, okay, now I have 5 years since I have my permanent residency, but you have been here only 1 week in every 2 years, so you do not apply. It has to be continuous residency.
So just to see if I understand the figure, to avoid losing my residency, I have to come to Panama once
every 2 years
in a 2 year time frame. Okay.
You can stay. Doesn't matter how long you stay. You have to get your passport stamped.
Okay,
now.
Understood. And to apply for citizenship, I have to be 5 years in the country playing around with 180 days.
You have to prove continuous residency. That's what
continuous residency.
Yeah, that's what the law says, and the Constitution. Actually, it's the Constitution. You have to apply for it's considered continuous residency. 180 days. Doesn't have to be a whole 180 days right away. So you can be and stay 2 months here, then you leave, then you stay 2 other months here, up to make in 1 year 180 days.
So if I live in Canada, that it's very, very cold in winter, and then I can spend winter there, summer here, down in Panama.
No, you can spend their
winter here in our summer.
Yeah.
And then the other way around.
Winter birds.
Okay.
So you come and live in Coronel or anything like
6 months and 6 months.
Then after that, then you can apply after the 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. That's one of the requirements. So this is a lot of requirements. And something very important is like, that's all 3 options. Option number 1, if you are a resident of any country, it's 5 years to get to the citizenship, to apply for citizenship. Then if you are married to a Panamanian or have Panamanian child, the time will go down to 3 years. And for Latin American countries and Spain, we have what is called reciprocity. So for example, Spain, Chile, Argentina, it's 2 years. It's the same time frame that gives us Panamanians to apply for residency. Colombia and Salvador is only 1 year after you get your permanent residency. So Colombians and Salvadorians they want to have permanent citizenship, they only have to wait 1 year after the permanent residency. Spain, Argentina, Chile, Mexico, it's 2 years. There are other countries that are 3 years.
So common law establishes 5 years, but depending on the treaties we have with each country, then it can be a different time.
It's the time that give us to us Panamanians to become their citizens of the country, the same time we give it. But it's only for Latin American countries and Spain.
So it's a win-win situation, like we say.
It's a win-win situation for the ones. So the process, the citizenship process, this is a very, very, very formal process. The citizenship is granted by the president of Panama. So it has to go through a lot of process, and it can take between more or less 2 years, maybe more, to get Panamanian citizenship. So it's one of the things is if you don't speak Spanish, you have to learn Spanish because it's the official language of Panama. So you have to at least maintain a conversation in Spanish. So the process goes like we do the application at immigration. Immigration will do an interview, then do an analysis of the documents. Once everything is okay, the file is sent to the electoral tribunal for the nationality exam. And if your first language is not Spanish, Spanish exam too. Then after the exam is done, goes back to immigration, and immigration will send it to the National Security Ministry, where they review the documents, and to the National Security Council, where they review the person. And here the person is going to be investigated all over the world to see if the person it's okay, doesn't have any problem, or it's not been looking or criminal backgrounds or anything. It's done by the National Security Council. Goes back again to the National Security, the ministry will sign, then it gets to the presidency of the president.
And that's why it takes so long.
Ministry of Presidency, the Ministry of the President will review again the documents. Usually when you get to this point, most of the documents will be
good to go in good stand.
No, most of the documents will be expired. So mostly they will ask you again for the documents. When it goes to the ministry of Presidency, the minister say, oh, it's okay. And then they send it to the president's office. And then the president will sign the documents, send it back to immigration. We do the notification, and then it's sent to the governor's office, where you swear as Panamanian. And then from that's done, then they give you the document to go to the civil register to get your cedula and the passports.
So residencies are provided from immigration, but citizenship comes straight from the president.
Yeah, it's the president that grants you. So that's why it takes a long time, takes more or less 2 years, unless there is election time, then it can take more. So here's the time frame. We have here in your screen the time frame for the process of citizenship, as we were explaining all the process right here. That's more or less the time frame that takes, more or less 2 years. Okay.
So these are all the steps that we're gonna be going through.
We just explained immigration, electoral tribunal, Ministry of Security, Security Council, Ministry of Security again, Ministry of Presidency, Office of the President, Immigration, and the governor's office. The governors of the province where you are going to do, because any province the governor is the one that make the formal this formal ceremony.
Perfect. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about work permits, the difference from which residency programs allows you to have a work permit and which one don't.
Okay, so first of all, the 10%. Okay, that's have to do. Then friendly nations, professional, married to Panamanian, with Panamanian children, and Panama Treaty grants you work permits. There are other ones like the humanitarian ones, the Crisol de Razas, that grants you work permit too. This is done at the Ministry of Labor, and it's a process different from immigration. Okay, so this, for example, if you're under the 10% or friendly nations or Italians that all with labor reasons, they're both due at the same time. Okay. So that one, more information, write us or
Send us an email, give us a call.
whatever, we'll gladly help you. Not granted work permits are dependents, are minors under 18 years old, pensioned or retired person, self-economic solvency, qualified investor, and reforestation.
Those
They
are the ones that don't apply.
don't apply for residency.
Perfect.
Now, after anyone after 10 years of residence can apply for an indefinitely work permit, and that is given to anybody
After 10 years.
after 10 years. So maybe sometimes it's better to have the citizenship, to wait 10 years to get your definitely work permit. It's very important also that Panama, going back to citizenship, Panama allows more than one nationality. So you can be a dual national if you're, and it depends on the country too. Like, for example, Germany doesn't allow dual nationality, but the United States does, Canada, most of the countries allow double nationality. So that's very important. You will not lose your nationality from origin.
Very good to know.
So the foreigners plus 10 years of permanent residency can get an indefinitely work permit. So that's what we're talking about. Now, we're almost done here. Now, driver's license.
Driver's license.
Okay, you are allowed to drive with your valid driver's license from the country of origin or residency up to 90 days. Okay, you come from the United States, you're going to stay 6 months here, you can only drive for 90 days. That's
So so everybody can understand, if you're driving in Panama and a police stops you and requires your document, how does he calculate those 90 days from the stamp?
You should have always with you
Your passport.
your passport with the seal of entry.
So he does the math from the time frame with
Yeah.
that seal.
Yeah. Okay, now, if you are applying for residency, at the moment you apply for residency, you should get your Panamanian driver's license. Even though for 6 months, you have to have a driver's license. If you don't have a valid Panamanian driver's license after you apply for residency, you can get stopped by the police and they can take your car.
They can take your car away.
Yeah.
That's true. And then you're going to have a fine. The car is going to be taken on a crane. It's going to be sent to a jar. You're going to be paying a huge bill at the end of the
We
day.
can help you with that
For
also.
something you could
And
have
it's really
avoided.
easy to get a Panamanian driver's license when you become a resident, either temporary applicant processing. You can, it's really easy. You have to go to your consulate with a copy of your driver's license, get it stamped at the consulate. And with that, you go to the DMV here in Panama and they will give you, they will help you get your driver's license. It's $40 plus an exams and as well. We can help you with that anytime you like.
And it's a quick process. It can
Yeah,
take
it's a
around
quick-
2 hours, 1 to 2 hours.
1 to 2 hours, depending on how many people.
Yeah.
Just don't go by the end of the month because
Yeah.
everybody's renewing and once you renew it, you can actually, when you get your first driver's license, you can renew it online.
Online. That's correct.
So that's very easy.
And the tests are quite simple. It's just sight test, hearing test. And I
Hearing
think
test.
there's a drug test, right, as well?
Yeah, what?
First
but that-
time,
No,
for
the
the
first
first time.
time. The first time. So that's the one. Next will be
The fines involved if you go over your
your time in
allowed
Panama.
to be in Panama.
So if you for every month is either if you are here as a tourist and you pass the time, or you have an expired temporary residency, the fines will be $50 per month. If you're married to Panamanian or have a Panamanian child, then the fines is $100. And you risk deportation and impediment to enter the country between 2 to 5 years.
I like to give out examples because that way people can figure it out in their head. They can make that the scenario. So for example, an American can be 180 days in Panama without a visa, just with his passport because of his nationality. As soon as he goes over 180 days, he's going to be paying $50 for each month he stays in the country.
Yeah.
Now, he has to go pay that fine to immigration
Before they leave the country.
7 days before leaving the country.
If you
It's
go-
very important to know that Because if you get to the airport, you can't pay at the airport, and then there's a huge, you're
Okay.
gonna have a huge
If
problem.
you have the fine, when you pay your fine, you have 7 days to leave the country.
7 days.
That fine doesn't give you a renewal of the time. Okay, a lot of people think that, okay, I pay the fine so I can stay 6 more months. No,
That's not correct.
7 days. You have 7 days to leave the country. If you don't leave the country within those 7 days, then you start paying fines again. Okay. So the next one, always carry your documents with you. If you're a tourist here, passport with the seal of entry, the last seal of entry to Panama. You can have copies of your passport. You can go around with, if you don't want to carry your passport with you. Temporary residents, permanent residences, and citizens, their ID cards, either issued by immigration when you get the permanent residency, issued by the electoral tribunal, the e-card, or your cedula. So very important, always carry your documents with you.
Now, just for everyone to know, again, an example, an American, 180 days. His time frame is about to expire. He can get a bus over to Costa Rica, or a flight to Colombia, or to Miami, to anywhere in the world.
To anywhere, and then come back, and then you get
come back. There's no time frame on coming back, right? He
No.
can leave, and next day he can come back.
You shouldn't, but yeah, I mean,
But I mean, if he does it several times,
if it does several times, then, red alert.
red alert. Immediately on one of his flights, he's going to be stopped
They say
at
like,
the airport.
okay, what's
Maybe
going on?
not the first or second time, but
But-
eventually he will be caught.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that do that as well, because when you have the idea of relocation, I want to move from my country, I want to come down to Panama, we always let our clients know, first, come do a first trip, see if you like the weather, if you like the culture, if you like the food, so many things that involve relocation.
Yeah,
So
it's important that when you come to Panama for the first time, you have never been here, just don't do it out of the blue, because you can come, I want to have residence in Panama, you come out of the blue and then you don't like it, and then you're spending a lot of money. So you just have a first glimpse of Panama. You like it, if you like to be in the city, if you like to be in the country, we were talking about the advantages of living in Panama, and for a small country like ours, we have almost everything. We have 2 oceans within 40 miles from each other.
yeah,
So you can have breakfast in the Pacific, lunch in the Atlantic, and then dinner back again in the Pacific.
or up in the mountain.
Or you can go up to the mountains where you have a nice weather. Or you don't like the beach, you go up to the mountains with a beautiful view of the ocean from that point. And or you like to go to the beach, there's really close places to the city. So that's what we were talking
There's
about.
many options in Panama.
There are many options in Panama, and to apply to get your residency or to see. So now we're almost done. So these are the legal basis we used to do we take our presentation.
This is where we gained all the information.
That-
These are the laws in Panama that establish the
immigration
processes, the immigration processes,
Yeah.
and law requirements that foreigners need to meet to be able to submit their application.
Now, the next one, I think we're done right
Yeah.
now.
So just
So-
before we leave, if there's any questions,
We got some.
can you let
blood
us know, whoever's here with us in person, if you have any questions? I also want to thank everybody who's here and who's online for taking out this time to be here with us. We do appreciate it. If there's any questions and concerns, don't hesitate and
We
let
have
us
some
know.
questions here. Can you read them? We got like 62 questions. So anyone have questions here? No? Okay, let's see what they have there on the chat. Cannot open it. Can you read them?
La pregunta. Vamos a subir la pregunta. The questions.
Okay, that's some questions.
Okay,
Okay.
I've seen it here. Yolanda Lee. If you do not live in Panama or plan to live there, can you still open a bank account in Panama?
Well, it depends. It depends. I mean, usually you open a bank account here, the bank's required that you are a resident or applying for residency. So if you're not living here.
Or doing investment. in
Or
Panama
doing
as
an
well.
investment in place. You're not living there, just a regular bank account cannot be open. Just, you have to have a residency or applying for a residency or having an investment. Okay, so boy, I have to take off my shoe. Okay. So for example, I start a reforestation. 10 people invest $400,000.
There's a good question here from John McDonald. It says, who evaluates a property for migration? Banks, special license, mortgage company?
What is the question again? Sorry.
It says, who evaluates a property for immigration? Banks, special license, mortgage, or company? Well, first of all, you need to get in contact with a real estate broker down here in Panama. You need to find a property, a registered property in Panama, over 200,000. If that's the minimum one right now, the Friendly Nation visa, if it's going to be real estate, you need to get a broker, find that property for $200,000. There's companies here as well in Panama that can tell you what's the value of that property. Banks will require it if you're going to need a mortgage. Banks will, as a mandatory, will require
An evaluation.
an evaluation of the property to see what's the value, to see if their mortgage, if that property meets the amount on the mortgage, you know?
And then for applying for residency, in the case of a residency, to show that you own the property, either it is owned, the immigration will require a certification from the public registry that the property is under your name or is under the name of a corporation or a foundation, which has to be would have to be part of the foundation of the corporation. So there's public registry will issue a certification that you own the property and how much and the cost of the property is.
Here they say, if I purchase the property, a land, and I do a company for the reforestation, is it difficult to register it? Instead of just going to somebody who already has the reforestation program available.
It takes time.
It takes time.
It's not difficult. It takes time, and they send actually inspectors to check that everything requires. It takes time. It takes time. It's not difficult, but it takes time. You have to have a lot of patience.
Okay, is a dependent also a partner or must be married? They always have to be married.
They always have to be legally
to establish. It can be married abroad here in Panama, but we need to provide proof.
A proof. So it has to be
a marriage certificate, and that way we can prove it to government.
Legally married.
If it's your partner, she won't be able, or he won't be able to qualify with your program. She or he will have to do a different or separate program.
I'm sad to say, but same-sex marriage are not considered legal in Panama. So we have something like that. You know, a lot of people asking me if same-sex marriage can apply as dependent. Sadly, no, we're not getting there yet. Eventually,
we're not getting there right now. There was a law before COVID trying to go through Parliament, but it hasn't been approved. So at this time, it's not allowed those marriages in Panama. There's a really good questions. I thank everybody who's logged in right now and doing really excellent questions. You know, can my Panamanian Foundation also hire me for the Friendly Nation visa? The thing is that you have to be able to prove government that you've been paying Social Security taxes.
Yeah, I mean, you can be hired by your foundation, but you cannot be the legal representative and you cannot be, you cannot sign yourself a contract.
I mean, you can't tell government that you're self-employed and you're employed, right?
Right.
You can't be in the board member and then that same board member owed by you is hiring you as an employee. That figure.
It's like, it's a little bit complicated, so it's better, if you can call us and we can, person explain you how this process goes.
Definitely. Give us a
So-
call, send us an email, and we will go step by steps of how we can proceed in that matter. Regarding the Friendly Nation visa, the countries, if you go to our website, International Relocation Firm, you will see all this information that Carmen and me have provided right now.
Okay, okay, so there is, Miska, can you drive a car with your driver's license after 90 days if you leave the country and return that 90 days start over again? Yes.
Yes, they do. Because your time frame.
Okay, until you get residence, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it do, it's 90 days.
Because it works with the stamp of
yeah,
entrance.
it is. I think this have to be changed because if you have 6 months living in Panama and then you have to, because you cannot drive and, eventually they have to change this because it's silly, I think. How much time to get the license for reforestation? I have patience. Well, if you have a property and you do the reforestation and you
I have
prove,
patience.
and you prove the $100,000 investment in that reforestation, well, can be, I cannot give you a time frame because it depends on the ministry. It depends on the thing, a lot of facts. So maybe 6 months, more or less, maybe more, but I cannot give you a time frame.
There's another good question here. What is the lawyer fee for U.S. citizen applying on the Friendly Nation?
The
Okay,
lawyer fee-
the lawyer fees
Okay.
can vary because
Like it can vary, and now you can. It's not. It depends on your lawyer, on the firm you work with, your lawyers. So if you like, you just can send us send us an email,
yeah,
and we can send you a quotation.
and many things can be different because if you're coming with your family, it's you, your wife, and 2 kids. It's a different package that
it
if you're
depends
coming
on the
by your
package,
own.
it depends on the thing.
You will also have legal deeds if you're purchasing a property, there's many things involved. So
So, okay, if you want to write our emails, mine is carmen.ortiz@realofirm.com. You can write it down los emails. Immigration@realofirm.com. Or Christopher, yours attorney2?
mine is attorney2@relofirm.com. I will repeat, attorney2 at
So they're
relofirm.com.
putting our emails right now, the phone numbers. So you can write us and get in touch with us and we can send you a quotation if you're interested. Or any other contact, any other questions you have, we can go further with that. About Costa Rica, 2 or 3 years to become citizen if the residency was obtained through friendly. Okay, Costa Rica, I think I have to check out, but I think it's 2 years after the permanent residency, you can apply for citizenship. Car rentals, I have to take off my glasses. Car rentals, okay. Let's see what it is. I already have a property, but I'm not the residency. John McDonald. Okay, John. If you have a property and complies with what we say the investment either for friendly nations or any other type of residency, and you can prove the investment is done with the public registry, you can apply for residency, no problem. What it says here, and that's one. For example, I started a reforestation startup. 10 people invest $400,000. Can I get everybody the permanent residency? No. 10 people. Those 10 people has to prove that each one has invest $100,000 in reforestation. So no-
Residency programs are just for one person, unless you're married and you have dependents.
So, and in the case of reforestation, as he's asking us if he started reforestation startup, 10 people invest $400,000. Everybody, no, those people have to invest each one $100,000. They have to prove the $100,000 for each one, or $350 for each one. Not the 10 of them. They invest $400,000. They cannot get the residency.
There's another question. If you want to live in Panama, yet operate your online business within the United States, is the professional visa for this use? No.
No,
Professional visa has to be here in Panama.
the professional visa. I mean, you can to apply for residency, as we said, you can apply the professional visa. You have to have a university degree that that shows that your career, your profession is not restricted to Panamanians. So you can have a business and operate a business from there. There is no, but you have to show that, go through the process.
Okay, if there's any other question before we leave, please let us know. Again, I want to thank everybody who's here in person, whoever's been logged in the entire program or was available for the time. I do appreciate it. Hope to see you all again. Looking forward for another conference. And just like Carmen said, you have our emails, you have the law firm's phone number. So feel free to give us a call at any time, and we will definitely help you out and assist you on your legal processes and your entire relocation experience.
Okay, there's
To come to
something
Panama.
that we forget to say, and this is very important. We do referral fees.
Definitely.
We
There's
do
referral
if you
fees.
recommend a client, everybody, if you recommend a client and we sign with this client, you will receive 10% of the legal fees.
Of the legal fees.
The important legal fees.
Very
So
important.
so if you get somebody and say, okay, I was recommended by James or whoever, came over to you, recommended by this person, we will give you a 10% legal fees referral.
Definitely. Nikki, thank you very much for being online, and everybody else, looking forward to see you again in Panama.
Okay.
Hope you have a nice day, everyone, and enjoy. Take care. See you the next one.
Bye.